What's the most obscene display of private wealth you've ever witnessed? My boss once had me drive him to an exotic car dealership to pick up his new Bentley. 3 days after my paycheck had bounced. One of my students gets dropped off to school in a helicopter. I remember there was a kid at my school whose parents brought him McDonald's for lunch every Friday. We thought that was obscene, but a helicopter drop off is up there too. Quick break. Whether you're looking for entertainment, education or inspiration, Audible has audiobooks for everyone. Link in the description for a 30-day free trial. A guy who moved 300 miles away just so he could buy a plane to fly to work every day. This dude turned life up to nightmare difficulty and then toggled God mode. I had an obscenely wealthy kid in my graduating class. His parents bought him a brand new Range Rover on his 16th birthday and he crashed it into a school bus. They got him a new one and he crashed it road racing. They got him a new one and he got a DUI, and finally the police took away his license. Thank the Lord. I met the CEO of the company I work for and I complimented his watch. The first thing he did is take it off a day and let me wear it. Come to find out after doing a little research, the watch he was wearing is a Patek Philippe that cost 1.75 million. That watch alone costs more than every asset in my family for the past 4 generations. Holy duck, imagine if you somehow broke it. David Tepper, billionaire hedge fund manager that moved out of New Jersey. Doing this caused New Jersey to have redo their entire state budget. I work in a shoe store. I once had a customer walk in and say, give me 1 pair of every men's shoe in a size 10. Didn't want to try them on or look at them. He just needed some shoes for each of his houses. I work on commission, so it was a huge sale for me. But holy duck, that was about 140 pairs of shoes. A party at the CEO's house for Halloween. Insanity. I thought I was going to get kicked out of the neighborhood because I was only driving a 30k car. Not a 300k car. Anything you can think of. He had at this party, staff with signature cocktails at the door. A fully staffed bar for liquor. A fully staffed bar for wine. An entire table made of ice with ice shot glasses and 10 different vodkas. He was wearing a costume made of leather that his wife commissioned for him. Handmade in France. The 400-yard bridge to his private lake was strung up with extra lights. And the dock had a separate bar for those who wanted to sit on the lake. At least he was sharing the fun. Sounds insane and fun. It was definitely memorable. My boss was a military liaison in Dubai and told me a story about a guy he became friends with there. One night they are driving back from a night of debauchery in this guy's brand new Ferrari and it breaks down. He pulls over to the side of the road, gets out and starts walking while calling his people to come get him, bring him another car. He doesn't mention anything about the broken Ferrari, so my boss asks him about it. His response was, what about it? It's broken. I'll just buy another. People have stupid amounts of money in Dubai. Edit. For all the people asking why my boss didn't ask for the car. He couldn't because it would have been considered a gift and the military would have just confiscated it. People that have worked there also have all kinds of stories about the gifts locals would buy for people that they simply had to let the military have or give them back. I went to a birthday party in 3rd grade. Every girl in the 3rd grade was invited. So 80 girls were picked up in limos. Taken to Build-A-Bear where we could choose any bear. Then we all got manicures and pedicures. We went to Red Robin for dinner. And limoed back to her mansion for a sleepover. I will never attend a party that fancy ever again. I was helping an owner rent his apartment. Which is an investment property. It's a 2,500 square FT condo with 4 balconies and 360-degree views of Midtown East in Manhattan, asking for $15,000 a month. Rented it for 6 months upfront with option to renew to someone who has ties to oil families in the Middle East. The person never moved in. Guy from my town bought a helicopter. He had fallen out with his neighbor, so decided to call his pilot at 4 AM and hover over his neighbor's house all night to annoy him. Someone in my town lives off the beaten path. In a small brick house. Nothing special. Except there's a helipad and a helicopter behind it. I guess it's how you spend your money. Lived in the international dorms in college. First week of school move-in happens and you get to meet a bunch of people. One of the people I met was this girl from Singapore. She's pretty cool and whatnot. But after a few weeks she realizes that to get around she needs a car, as public transport blows. So, naturally, she calls her parents to tell them that she needs a car. No biggie. She tells them that she needs a Mercedes S-Class. HMM. Okay. Nice. But remember, she's from Singapore. If you know anything about Singapore, it's that cars cost anywhere from 6-9x what they do in the US. Casually. Her parents wire her enough money to get an S-Class. In Singapore. Girl gets $650,000 wired to her account. Not knowing that it costs 6x less here. She goes to the dealership, then comes back in an hour with no car. I asked her what happened. And she says, oh, it's getting delivered. Sure enough. 2 days later a brand new car shows up. Except it's no S-Class. It's a Lamborghini Murcielago. Touché. Well played. I later find out she doesn't know how to drive. So she hired a chauffeur to drive her around. She would sit in the passenger side of her own Lambo and be driven places. What made it more hilarious was that the chauffeur would actually wear a black jacket and hat. Edit. Eventually she got a driver's license and was able to drive the car herself. I think the chauffeur was around for 2-3 months though. After moving out of that dorm. I didn't really keep contact with her. But I assume she went back home just like every other Berlin international student. Family I know bought the $3 million house next door so they could knock it down for a tennis court. Edit. Wow, so it seems this is a common occurrence. The house that this family owns is already huge and they had plenty of space for a tennis court, but they didn't want to move a sculpture they had to the other side of the garden. No one in their family plays tennis. They wanted the tennis court because their 18-year-old daughter wanted a place to throw her parties. The CEO of Oracle bought every single house at the beach he lived at so he could turn it into a private beach. I was driving for Uber in a college town and picked up a group from one of the richer frat houses to take them to a club. The girls were discussing how one of their friends was upset and went on a huge shoe shopping spree where each pair cost roughly $2,000 except for one. This one pair costed $7,000. One of the girls casually expresses that $7,000 is really not a bad price to pay for shoes. They should have just been a little bit prettier. I would have paid $5,000 for them. Why they called an Uber instead of a limo? I don't know. One of my dad's friends from high school is unbelievably rich and a collector. He owns a legitimate Stradivarius. Eventually, he decided he wanted to learn how to actually play it. So he signed up for lessons and brought a ducking Stradivarius with him down to the local music shop to meet his instructor and have his first lesson. I can only imagine the look on his instructor's face. My last job before college was dealing with what they call the 1% now. We had a call from a customer who had spent a 5-figure sum for items for her house. And realized the house she had it sent to was not the house she wanted to decorate with them. After being informed the order was already in transit, she just reordered everything and had it rushed delivered to the house she wanted it for. She was totally cool with it. I always picture the basement of her one house having the duplicates sitting there. Worth far more than what I made at that job in a year. Went to college on an athletic scholarship at an expensive private Catholic university. I went to school on the GI Bill or I would have never been able to afford it. I was on the lacrosse team and during a party at the on-campus apps one of the captains starting stabbing his refrigerator with a Cape bar. I was outside smoking a cig and I asked him why he did that, knowing full well he would have to replace it. His exact words were, "I'm not paying for it. My dad is a baller at Bank of America." He and I did not get along. Edit. Grammar. Saw a news article that an extremely wealthy Chinese man's son bought 8 iPhone 7s for his dog. I mean, some comments here are obscene. But this is just pointless. In summer of 1988 I was 16 and I went on a family trip to visit relatives in Cali, Colombia. One night, they took us on a drive around town to see the city at night. On the tour, we passed a 6 or 7 story office tower under construction in a residential neighborhood that my cousin told me was to be the future home of one of the city's largest narco-trafficantes, or drug kingpins. While the house was under construction, he'd had another large mansion built directly across the street so he could keep an eye on the building's progress from his home. Essentially, he built a mansion to live in while he watched his bigger mansion being built. Met a girl who worked on a yacht and it was located in Monaco. I was able to board it for about an hour and get a tour. The owner was some Russian oligarch or something and the boat was worth $100 million. I wasn't allowed to walk around it freely, but the thing was tricked out in a way I never thought possible. It wasn't even the biggest yacht in port either. I've been to Monaco. The harbor full of private yachts was awe-inspiring. Private banker for a wealth management firm checking in. So as you'd imagine, I've seen quite a bit. And have a few tales I could tell. Most memorable was a foreign national who was purchasing a private jet in America. He was insanely reckless with his spending. But I'm going to be honest, this guy was so sickeningly wealthy he probably couldn't spend all his money if he tried. And boy did he try. Past tense as he's a former client dart. He saw that a Saudi prince had installed an all-gold bathroom on his private A380. For those of you who don't know, that's the largest commercial passenger airplane in operation. This guy wanted to imitate that on his more modest, $34 million jet. Only problem is he wanted the bathroom installed in a 2-week time frame as he was entertaining his father on board the plane. The company doing it failed to source all the gold required in time and the sink would be left plain. Rather than take his father in an unfinished bathroom, he sourced another jet that already had this feature. God knows how he found it, and spent another $40 million to buy this new jet in time to impress his old man. 2 jets in the space of a month. Standard disclaimer. This wasn't my client directly, but the firm's biggest client at the time.